You ever had one of those nights, or weeks, or let's be honest, maybe even years, where your sleep schedule just feels completely, totally broken? You've tried everything, but nothing seems to work? Well, today we are going to dive into a pretty radical method for fixing any sleep schedule, and it comes from someone who was at their absolute wits' end. So let's just start with the quote that kicks this whole thing off. A Navy SEAL instructor says, "You can fix any sleep schedule in exactly 48 hours." Okay, amazing. But then he adds, most people quit after 6 hours because the first night feels like torture. Whoa, so that's a huge promise, right? But it comes with an even bigger warning. The real question is, does this actually work? All right, so before we get to the actual fix, we have to understand the problem. And I mean really understand it. The person who shared the story was locked in a 3-year battle with their sleep. Just picture it. This endless, frustrating cycle of lying awake for hours, your mind just racing, and then you finally crash, only to wake up feeling like a complete zombie. It's like having permanent jet lag, but in your own house. And think about all the things you try, right? Does this list look a little familiar? You've got the sleeping pills that just make you feel groggy, melatonin that for a lot of people does absolutely nothing, all the sleep apps, the meditations, cutting caffeine, the expensive blackout curtains, the white noise machines, you name it. This isn't just a list of things that didn't work. It's a map of pure desperation. This is where the whole story just takes a massive turn. He meets this guy, Marcus, a former Navy SEAL instructor who just looks at this whole mess of a situation and reframes the entire problem. He says something that just changes everything. You don't have insomnia. And here it is. This is the big shift in thinking. See, all those failed cures, they were just trying to treat the symptom, the thing we call insomnia. But Marcus said the real cause, the root of the problem, was a broken circadian rhythm. In other words, the issue wasn't that you've forgotten how to sleep. It's that your body's internal master clock is just completely out of whack. So what in the world is a circadian rhythm? Well, think of it like this. You have a master clock deep in your brain. It's a tiny little thing, but it's in charge of a 24-hour cycle. And its job is to tell every single cell in your body what time it is and what it's supposed to be doing. And you know what sets this clock? Two main things: consistency and, most important of all, light. So here's how it's supposed to work. When bright, natural sunlight hits your eyes first thing in the morning, it's like pressing start on a countdown timer in your brain. Then, about 14 to 16 hours later, that alarm goes off, and it signals your brain to start pumping out melatonin, the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. The problem is, if you never get that consistent morning light, the timer never really starts properly. Okay, so if the problem is a broken clock that's getting all these mixed up, inconsistent signals, then the solution has to be sending one giant, undeniable signal to just force a hard reset. And that's what Marcus called the hard reset protocol. So let's get into the steps. Now, on paper, this looks almost too simple. You pick one wake-up time and you stick to it. No exceptions, not even on Saturday. You get up immediately, no snoozing. You go outside and get real sunlight. But it's that last step. That's the part that's so brutal. Stay awake all day. No naps, no matter how much you feel like you're going to die, even if you only got an hour of sleep. That's how you build up enough sleep pressure to force the reset. Let's talk about that sunlight for a second. The amount of light you need to properly zap your internal clock is about 10,000 lux. Now, to put that in perspective, your typical indoor lights, there may be a few hundred lux. But here's the crazy part. Even on a super cloudy, overcast day, the light outside is still giving you that 10,000 lux. And that is why just sitting by a window doesn't cut it. You have to physically get outside. So, what's it actually like to do this? What does it feel like? Well, the person who did it described it perfectly. It is torture followed by triumph. You have to imagine every single cell in your body is just screaming at you to lie down, to take a nap, to just give up. But you can't. You have to fight through it. This timeline just says it all. Day 1, you drag yourself out of bed at 6 a.m. after maybe 3 hours of sleep. You feel horrible. By 2 p.m., the urge to nap is just crushing, but you push through. Day 2 is even worse. You wake up feeling like an absolute zombie. But then, the magic happens. That night, your body has built up so much sleep pressure, you're out cold within 5 minutes. And then, day 3, you wake up at 5:58 a.m. naturally, before your alarm, feeling normal. It actually worked.
So pulling off the reset is one thing. It's incredible, but making it stick, that's the real challenge. So let's talk about the common mistakes that trip people up and what the real secret is to building sleep that actually lasts. According to sleep scientists, these are the big 5 ways people sabotage themselves. They don't get real sunlight. They cave and take that nap, which is like hitting the reset button on all that sleep pressure you've built up. They scroll on their phones in bed, and that blue light just tells your brain, hey, it's daytime. They give up after that first brutal night, not realizing that's actually part of the process. And a simple one, their bedroom is too hot, which makes it harder for your body to cool down, which it needs to do to sleep. So here's the real secret, the ultimate goal. You're not trying to build some fragile, perfect sleep schedule that's going to shatter the first time you stay out late. No. The goal is to build a resilient one. Once your circadian rhythm is really locked in, it can handle a disruption. It can handle a late Saturday night as long as you get right back on that wake-up schedule the very next day. And this all comes back to that powerful idea from Marcus. Sleep isn't some passive thing that happens to you. It's an active process. It's something your body does when you give it the right signals at the right times. And this is so important. You are not broken. Your signals were just inconsistent. You know, this whole thing started as a way to fix a sleep problem. But when you start to realize how fundamental this internal clock is, that it controls your mood, your metabolism, your hormones, it kind of forces you to ask some much bigger questions.
Just think about this for a second. We know that our mood is so deeply connected to our biology. So what if some of what we diagnose as depression isn't just a chemical issue, but a symptom of an internal master clock that is just completely fundamentally out of sync? And what about things like energy and motivation? Man, it is so easy to label ourselves as lazy or unproductive. But what if it's not a character flaw? What if it's just that your body's master clock literally has no idea what time it is, so it doesn't know when to turn the energy on and when to wind down? And this is the last thought I really want to leave you with. It's a huge question that goes way beyond just sleep. In this modern world, we've disconnected ourselves from the most basic, powerful signals that nature provides. So what other problems are we trying to fix with complicated pills or sheer willpower when maybe, just maybe, the real solution is as simple and as free as just going outside in the morning?